Possibly. Welcome to First Geek Congregation, where we always try and talk before the camera starts. If you've never caught us before here on YouTube or whatever, we're geeks. We're a bunch of geeks because that's why it's First Geek Congregation, not Greek. It has been wondered before whether we typoed it. First Geek Congregation, we're a bunch of geeks. We talk about religion, culture, and how it applies to our lives. And yes, we're mainly Christian. But not always. So the people we have here end up being atheists or Wiccans or any number of other religions. Our guest speakers sometimes that we have are from other faiths. The main precept is peace, love, and respect. One of the easiest ways to respect people is to understand them. So we're real big on that. So, kind of when you're watching this, keep in mind that's our big premise. We're held at the Center of Wichita, which is the local LGBT gathering center. They're a really cool place. They've got meeting rooms and things like that. It's all a nonprofit thing. It's all supported by the community. So if you get a chance, go check them out at thecenterofwichita.org and maybe donate a little bit to them. Places like this are kind of expensive to keep going, but they've done well so far. Excuse me. And they also have a lot of great programs here, like the Get Connected program, which is for LGBT teens to have a safe gathering space. Let's face it, teen life is hard enough as it is, and being an LGBT teen is even harder. Now, we're not an LGBT church. We're most certainly a Christian left sort of group, but we just accept everybody. We don't care who it is that comes through. In fact, they don't have to have the same views of us. All they have to do is believe in the idea of love, peace, and respect for everyone else around us. Anyways, usually we start with the dumbest religious story of the week. Does anybody have? Somebody just facepalmed.
I can't remember it.
Describe it.
I can't even remember what it was. No idea.
Gotcha. Nobody got nothing, huh?
Give me a second.
I've got a lot of great stories for the week, but none of them are religious. I mean, like the Black Lives Matter. One guy had his truck spray painted and vandalized with Black Lives Matter on it and anti-police messages until the cops started investigating it. Actually, it was an insurance scheme. He'd done it all himself. And the big tip-off was when the cops saw an interview with the news, and the guy was saying, yeah, they ripped up his seats and tore out his glove box along with spray painting the outside, and one of the cops was like, wait, that's not our damage list. Pulls up the videos and everything they shot of it. None of that damage had been there, so they called him back in. And I kind of find out he'd done it all himself and blamed it on Black Lives Matter. What a kind individual. But that, unfortunately, is not a religious one, so it can't be nominated.
Yeah, but Heckler was kind of the Trump, but
that was really okay. If you don't know what he's talking about, so Trump is talking in front of 66,000 people, and he let people have the mic ask questions. And the first guy didn't ask a question, not really. Said, we all know that Obama is actually a Muslim. We've got a problem with Muslims in the United States. Now, you know what we've got a problem with the United States? Idiots. And this was a good example. In fact, though, I do encourage people to watch that video. Watch it closely. Watch the people in the background behind Trump. Because it kind of tells you something. When this guy started talking, you don't see a positive response to what he's saying. Nobody believed him, nobody cared. Nobody wanted to listen to this guy. And Trump's answer was dumb. I mean, it's one of the few times I've seen him flat out fumble. I don't think he was ready for this one. And somebody caught him off guard and he fumbled the question. He didn't say, we're going to go out and we're going to take care of this Muslim issue. He said, we're going to be looking into everything. He tried to wash it away without being pro or negative, but the answer ended up being so completely bland.
He wants all those people to vote for him.
Yeah.
And he wants other people to vote for him.
Yeah.
Could he actually be turning into a politician?
He's been a politician the whole time. remember, this is the man that wrote The Art of the Deal. Well, I mean, he had somebody write The Art of the Deal for him, with his name on it. He's never mistake the idea that a businessman isn't a politician. And there's politics in business, and especially if you're talking in Israel. So I've partially been wasting time to see if Marshall came up with a story or not, because he started Googling for something.
No, I was trying to, I was heading over to Ted Cruz's Twitter feed to try to find out, refresh my memory, because I too had forgotten, but I stumbled upon a parody of Ted Cruz's Twitter feed instead.
Oh, so you're...
It's the first pop-up that comes up in your Google search. And it seems to be sponsored, and it's Ted Cruz, at Ted Cruz, everything on Twitter. But it's just, the things that are popping up were so remarkably ignorant. I was like, this has got to be a hack or something. It's like women by nature are unpredictable. We're ready for Hillary because we know what to expect from her. And pictures of him photoshopped onto like a man's head in a bathtub full of rubber ducks saying, "Don't let Obama duck this nation's problems." And then
it just keeps going. We've lost you for a while, haven't we?
Not for a while. I'll stop this. A few decades. The things that were being said, I mean, this has got to be. Something wrong.
Remember, sometimes it's really hard to tell if something's parody.
Because then I hit back to go check again, and I hit the same link, and now it seems to be on his regular page.
Huh.
Yeah, seriously, it was very weird.
Well, we don't have a winner this week then. We don't have a story.
My story was that whole
Rubber duck?
no the thing with Trump.
Gotcha.
But it's not exactly.
Yeah, the problem with that is it's not even a religious story. It's got nothing this week. It's not to say nothing stupid happened. It's just nothing bubbled up to the surface. And I've been busy this week, so I haven't actually searched very well. In that case, I guess let's get on our other topic.
Oh,
Wait.
I think there was something that I ran across where a council was putting forth the idea of only allowing Christian prayers before meetings. Like they were putting forth this, and they kept saying that they were not going to pull it forward because it's illegal, but they were basically hemming and hawing because it's illegal. So I think they basically decided to pander to the Christian groups by pretending that they were trying to force Christian only prayers when they knew it was illegal from the get-go because they're not retards.
Right.
And I mean that as they know the law.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. In fact, actually, being an election year, we're seeing that even more, which is candidates saying things they have no intention of backing up because it'll get voter support. A lot could be. So it's a thing. It's one of the lies that we have to put up with right now. Speaking of lies, today's topic is the American political landscape, both from what it is the voters vote for, to where is the religious support, to our behaviors during voting season. Let's face it, because if you want to see what brings the worst out in America, it's voting season. It really is. We actually truly believe some of the things we say, and that's scary. People who are Republicans can die in a fire. People who are Democrats can die in a fire. How about we not wish death on people,
You're really tying my hands here.
Like what you do on your time. So, anyways, all right. So one of the things that happened in the process of this stuff, following me maybe a little bit more ADHD than usual, because my typical notes that I do beforehand and they get uploaded to cloud, and I go grab my lunch and then come here and pull up my notes. The notes apparently didn't go up to the cloud, so I had to recreate at least the links and things like that here just in just a couple of minutes before this. So if it's a little bit more weird than normal, I apologize. One of the things I'm going to talk about real quickly, is one of the big sources that we have for most of the data for this. There's two major places that data for most of these articles comes from. One, it's been political polling by the newspapers and et cetera themselves, the news outlets, and they do random polling. Everybody has gotten a phone call at one time or another. So tell me if the election was today, your support for Donald Trump would be favorable, negative, I don't know. So there's whole questions, and I
have an answer.
Yeah, and you would you say it was favorable, very favorable, amazingly favorable? I have ran into one that it felt like it was rigged that way. In fact, if nobody has ever studied this before, surveys have a lot of psychology behind them. So one of the things to be careful of when you hear polls say and surveys say, you have to question the sources. And the reason why, how they asked the question makes all the difference to what the answer is. There is a whole thing about this, and there's entire college classes on this subject on how to do it properly. I have not taken those classes, and I hope to never take those classes. Even though I'd like to have an anthropology and archaeology degree. That's what I went to college for, and then I dropped out to go travel the world. And I got to the point of brushing up to the concepts of these, and I don't know if I could. It's not fun. It's really boring stuff. But I mention all this because sometimes what the news outlet ones, they may be quoting, they may either have done it themselves, or they may be quoting a polling agency that's hired to do it based on their criteria. And as one might imagine, getting answers from MSNBC versus Fox are very, very different. So I'll be trying to remember to say what the source of this data is, because it is relevant to some of these conversations. The other big one that I use the heck out of for this is Pew. P-E-W. Pew, 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 pew. And oddly enough, when I first ran into Pew Research Institute, I assumed it must be like a Christian group because it's Pew. Yeah. No, it's not. Actually, it was created by You've been on the caffeine again, haven't you, sir? So, the Pew Research Institute actually was Shell Oil. One of the baron for Shell Oil back ages ago. His son was actually his son and his son's wife were the ones that founded it. It has gone on its own for a very long time, and it's done very well at being a nonpartisan research institute, and they research all sorts of topics, and we're going to be using them in a number of spots. And part of what brings us about, just kind of look background, one day I got a message that basically boiled down to being concerned about the evangelical vote and how much power they have in the United States and how that's going to determine who the next candidate is. Here's the thing. This stat I'm about to give is not actually quite correct.
I was waiting for it to be spelled that way by mistake. Got it.
They were talking about the Avengers.
Sorry.
The evangelical support was around 26.3%. Why am I getting stared at like that? You're talking. No, but you're staring at me weird. This has never happened before. It's new. Now, actually, and this was this would be 2007. Yeah. During the last voting cycle, it actually dropped a little bit, and it's dropped a little bit again. I want to say a little bit. It's actually now. In fact, actually, you can look at all Christian groups, all religious groups, and you see the same thing, a slow decline in the number of affiliated people. There's a lot of agnostic, undeclared atheists has been on the rise for quite a while in the U.S., particularly in the last 2 decades. The reason why I mention this is because the idea that the evangelicals hold so much power in the U.S. Well, okay, if it's 26% during the last election cycle, during 2012, for instance, and all of them voted for the Republican candidate, because they're obviously all Republicans. If all of them voted for the candidate, it actually still wouldn't have been quite enough to get somebody in office. In fact, actually, the last candidate, only 78% of them actually supported the candidate. By the way, there's also another great stat. 60% of them said that they were willing to support a Mormon in office as president. When we're talking about statistics, sometimes it's also fun to look at the opposite side. So that actually means that 40% of them were unwilling to support a Mormon in office as president.
But 78%.
But 78% voted that way. Now, why the difference between these two things? Because some of them voted because it's the only freaking answer they had to vote for a Republican. 60% of them were willing to back him. The rest of them just voted because it's him. Because it's a Republican.
And they're not voting for him, they're voting against him.
Yes. Because on every statistic, there's a flip side and negative. Actually, the truth is there's 3
Flip sides.
I'm going to say there's a coin edge because you've got the 60% and the 40%. This would be untrue. You have a don't know. Every stat has, when you're polling people, there's a don't know or won't answer. So in other words, evangelical support may not be as large as we perceive it to start with. That's still just Christian evangelical because you still have Catholic and you still have the rest of them, right? So let's look at this a second. Oops, reproduce this whole thing. Catholic. 2007.
Damn it.
Shut up, Marco.
I was trying not to crack up, but I couldn't help it.
It was from Colorado, right?
Laugh it up.
Yes. Church of the Repeated Meme in there anywhere?
Hey, I don't have the way of building this nice thing that they have, so I just have to work with it.
I was talking about that. I said, is the Church of the Repeated Meme in there anywhere?
Well, we can either say it is unaffiliated or non-Christian. Depends on how you want to go with it.
Which foundation can you call them? Lost Souls.
We're geeks. Don't use the term lost souls. That's from Doom and anyways.
It's Lost Souls.
So that's a 5.9.
That's 5.9.
It's not 59.
No, and this does not add up to 100%. And because we're talking statistics, because in statistics you don't have to add up to 100%. What?
You assume that.
You assume normal people assume this sort of thing adds up to 100%. It does not. Statisticians go, it's close. That's good enough, right? So
Expected line.
the important part of this is to notice something. The overall trend for association is dropping off religiously. We Catholics take a pretty good hit there, almost a 3.1% hit. Protestant takes just about the same, while unaffiliated, because if you're not one of these, you're now unaffiliated, or you're a non-Christian faith, has gone up considerably. Technically, everybody in this room is unaffiliated because we're not part of one of these churches. We're not part of anybody's church. I suppose we could be Protestants, protesting the Protestants, but it just doesn't work.
Wow. Well, who's gone? He takes off the path. Oh, no.
Because I'm going to leave a mark.
Sorry.
So the important takeaways that sweet Valencia is with all that worry about the evangelicals vote. Even if this cycle they have a pretty good amount of power. How much time? In 4 more years, how much power are they going to have? When does this decline on their curve stop? When does the decline on religious America start? Slow down. I don't know, because this is actually a fairly new phenomenon.
Well, you can only go so far before there's no more religion.
Well,
Nobody has it anymore. There's 0%.
Well, there'll never be 0%.
You don't know where that line is.
True. And there'll never be 0%. Even in communist Russia, communist China, there were still, while it was underground, there was still a percentage of people who were religious, of various religions, including Catholic, Christian, Muslim. The Russians had an unofficial Catholic church for a long time. Buddhism, etc. There's always
McDonald's.
There's always a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
McDonald's does not count as religion.
And
Okay.
the more that people
Church of the Big
crack
Mac.
down on religion, the more tenaciously it comes back. But in our current thing, we're doing the opposite thing. We're like letting it be stupid and annoying to everybody, so it's dying off.
Yeah. And of course, all of the Republican candidates focus heavily on one group. Heavily on this group right here. The Catholics. So what?
We are the board. We will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Well, there's a problem with that. We'll get into that. The divisionism is actually part of that, is the dehomogenization of our culture. I just use that in a sentence. Amazing. But if we look at this, the takeaway is that at least politically, religion is possibly losing power, which scares the crap out of a lot of these folks. Oddly enough, one of the interesting things is, I mentioned these folks, I keep pointing at these guys. Catholics are fairly powerful, but right now they're in their own great schism again. They now have the problem of a pope who is kind of a liberal pope.
Wants to stand up for the poor and not like condemn everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah, and actually,
though he is condemning capitalism, but yeah,
Oh,
it's an idea.
they're, oh, right. Oh, right. They're probably pretty scared of that, actually.
where's the stats?
Where's Sarah's gospel? Yeah.
But even with the Pope currently the way he is, Catholic support for what these guys believe has changed a lot. Because you can almost, there were two sides of the same argument. Well, I hate you guys because you're not Catholic. I hate you guys because you're not us. But they believe the same thing. There's actually a big division happening. Catholics are becoming liberals. Don't tell anybody. And the reason why I say they so
Well, they were liberals technically back in the day.
well, okay, yes, if we go back 2,000 years, they were liberals.
No, I'm talking about maybe JFK.
Well, and you do make a good point. They have been, and it's not even just saying, hey, the Pope is a liberal, that makes the rest of them liberal. It's not necessarily the case. But yeah, they go in cycles. They have cycles of what's acceptable, what isn't. And I can't say why. I can't say what it is within their organization that causes that. And they have a big ramp. It'll be kind of a ramp up. They're right down. They're right down. Right now, they are getting more and more liberal. And one of the things, for instance, I love this set of things here because it breaks against some of these stereotypes we think of with Catholics. So off the polls, and this is on Pew also. Do you personally think it's a sin to use contraceptives? Well, everybody knows Catholics can't use contraceptives. It's part of the thing, right? Mm-hmm. Except for only 17% of them think it's a sin. 17% think, I don't know. And 66%, remember, these don't have to go to 100%, 66% think it's not a sin to use contraceptives. This flies in the face of Monty Python.
Well, maybe Monty Python made some valid points and it was
54% don't think it's a sin to live with a romantic partner outside of marriage. 14% think are undecided or other. Actually, the category on here is other because sometimes people want to give an explanation, even though there's only 3 answers. Here's the extra answer. 49%, only 49%, divorce without annulment. Apparently, is still a popular thing you have to do. 39% engage in, don't think it's a sin to engage in homosexual behavior, and 17% are undecided or other for their answer. Only 44% think it's a sin. 76% think the Catholic Church should allow contraceptives. 61% think the church should allow cohabitating Catholics to receive communion. Communion is a wafer held above everybody's head if you're Catholic. And if you're not in good standing, yes, I picked that very intentionally. If you're not in good standing, you may not be able to take communion, or you may not be part of the good standing of the church. And if you haven't paid enough towards your tithing and things like this, have all classically at times been held as part of determination of whether you can take communion, whether you can do this, whether you can do that. in the church. 62% think the church should allow those remarried without annulment to receive communion. And here's the stunner: 46% think the Catholic Church should recognize marriages of gay and lesbian couples, with 8% in the other category. When you add the 8% in the other category, almost support for it in the Catholic Church now. Almost support for homosexual marriage in the Catholic Church. This being so against the stereotypes that we're usually told about Catholicism. It indicates that there's something going on within Catholicism. Because we've got bishops who are coming out against the Pope, saying how he's a bad guy because of his views on homosexuality. It's not that the Pope's for homosexuality. The Pope does not walk out with a banner saying, hey, everybody should be homosexual now. He's not for homosexuality. What he's for is love. And that's the important part to him. It's not condemning people, not saying, not pointing out everybody else's sin or everything else. So I don't know if he's part of what's started pushing this, or whether or not it's just natural evolution. I don't know.
I blame the Catholicism campaign. Bloody Christ.
I want one. I want a 6-foot Buddy Christ. I want you to know I want a nice fiberglass 6-foot Buddy Christ I can just put in the corner. I love them.
Sorry, I can't help you there. I can help you what to do. I thought about it, but
Well, unfortunately, getting a large one is kind of a custom thing. You have to find somebody to make it. I don't know anybody who works for fiberglass. Apparently, he's going to be wound for sound here shortly. All that caffeine. So, I'm sorry you can't hear me for opening your pop. So one of the reasons why they're going after evangelicals rather than the Catholics, I think, is because they're seeing Catholics support of their positions around. Oddly enough, their positions are built around the idea that they had this religious support in the first place. If you listen to a lot of the candidates, there's quite often, I wonder how much they actually believe in what they're saying versus what they say. Make sure that everybody, yeah. And pandering to the voters is a big thing. It is huge. It's part of the cornerstone for getting elected now. Obama did it. We forget. Obama did it. He had all that stuff that he talked about. All right, I'm elected. And it's not to say it's because everybody knows I support Obama. It's just there's stuff that was on the agenda that I don't think he really cared about that much. It wasn't that important.
Well, he was also
All politicians do that. I mean, you expected him to follow through on everything he said.
Let's go with 99.99%. Do that. Because we've got at least one player on the field right now. So what?
I think we hope Bernie won.
Oh, no, we know Bernie won. Because you know what? You got to look 40 years of Bernie.
the same thing.
The same damn thing, and he does not care. Indeed. He doesn't
You're trying to get him off track with stupid things like somebody's hair.
have fun with that. Let's just, what we should be glad, what we should really be glad of is that Bernie is not built like, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because I could, if he was, I could see him just grabbing reporters.
That's my taste.
I think one of the things I like about Bernie Sanders is he doesn't panic, and he hasn't. He has lost elections on the idea that this is where I stand. Screw you. You should be on my side, not that I'm on your side. And that's his approach to it. Anyways, I mentioned some of that steps also because when we start looking at the idea that, for instance, homosexuality isn't as bad with Catholics as an idea as it used to be, but we have candidates who have classically gone after homosexuality as a problem. As that support starts to erode, that's a bit of a problem. And in fact, on the other side, you have Democrats, unless you're in Kansas, that are for rights for homosexuals. They're going to gain at least a couple voters here and there just because they're not the other guys saying bad things about it. And that's how we vote. This is the fun thing about us voting. We as human beings, we will vote sometimes not for the candidate, but for anything but that candidate. We'll do negative voting. I have negative voted before. I will say that, like, Obama, I actually did vote for him on a positive manner, but he was almost a coin flip for first time in office for me to vote for him. Like, well, it's him or it's the old white guy. And I actually like the old white guy. He's kind of a cool old white guy who's been a Democrat. He's now a Republican. He still holds some Democrat views and he holds Republican views. I like this. Yeah, but let's give this guy a chance. Literally, we do that also. If we're lacking better judgment, we make random decisions. And American voters are dumb. We are dumb voters most of the time. We'll go in uninformed and go after it, which is what these guys hope for. They hope for, lacking anything else, you'll at least vote for me because I'm Republican. And an evangelical or a Catholic is going to vote Republican every time. Well, at least that's the theory. The other thing is that they go after some interesting issues. Right now, one of the big issues. Can somebody tell me the Republican stance on immigration and undocumented immigrants?
Build a wall, kick them out.
Right. Sounds pretty reasonable, right?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And we've already talked, it's already been talked about what the cost of doing things like that is. It's $200 billion.
It's unfeasible.
It's
not feasible.
$200 billion to kick them out and $400 billion to build a wall.
Anybody who says that they're going to is lying.
And then you'd have to rewrite all the textbooks about us being an immigrant nation that give a damn about people.
On top of that, we're only going to build one wall.
Yeah.
It's always important to think about who we have here. And because, we get people from other countries too.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of them.
And they don't come in across the Rio Grande.
But they get up there and they talk about this. They talk about the problem of illegal immigrants, and we hear this rhetoric, and we assume they know who they're pandering to. We assume that, and we hear these, and it makes an automatic assumption on our part. If they're pandering to this group, then it must mean there is a huge amount of support for kicking out all the illegal immigrants.
I think they're just saying what they think people want to hear.
You just wait until Dodge City and Garden City and all those other cities
Become ghost towns? No, we're not playing Pac-Man.
Why not? Miss Pac-Man? Metroid.
We're playing Donkey Kong.
2% is Donkey Kong.
It doesn't have to add to 10. It doesn't have to add to 100%.
That's correct. These are statistics. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Whatever. Close enough.
Oh,
So if we go above 100, that's okay too?
Yes.
sure. It's approximate.
I was just making the point that it does that go the other way too.
Because this part of the question is important. Oh, no, wait. Sorry. Wrong question. Okay, so if the idea is that you can pander to them and get an easy vote because you're saying that illegal immigrants are a major problem and we should be exporting them, they should be our major export at this point. No, here's the thing. Only 27% of Americans, because we're not dumb really in reality, 20%, 7% of Americans are the only people who think that we should be exporting them, that we should get rid of them, we should get them out of here. On the other hand, 72% think there should be a legal way for them to just become residents. Actually, either permanent residents or apply for citizenship. Applying for citizenship is an odd thing in the U.S., but it's one option. Permanent residence means amnesty programs, things like that. So some of them think that we need, 42% think that we need to have a system where they can apply to become a citizen very easily. And 26% think that, hey, just one way or another, they need to become American citizens. And we're done. Both of those are actually pretty much the same answer. So wait, what is the Democrats may have it right. They're going for the 72% of people, while the Republicans are going after the minority.
Yeah, it's really interesting to try to figure out how they get elected when they're doing
And I
that.
wonder why they lose too.
Well, and that's the thing about it. Do presidents get elected? And we're talking presidents. Do presidents get elected off of those sort of pieces of rhetoric, or do they get elected by other reasonings? Ronald Reagan was called the Great Orator. Every president has a title. Most people don't realize it, that they find a title for them. What defined their presidency? Ronald Reagan was the Great Orator because his ability to speak clearly, concisely, with the right emotion, with the right words, because I mean, he had speech writers.
He was an actor.
He was an actor, exactly. He excelled in this one area. He didn't necessarily, because without getting into the debate of whether or not Ronald Reagan was good or bad, I liked Ronald Reagan. I was a kid when he was in office, but I liked Ronald Reagan.
And a 600 ship fleet. Well, that was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I was going into the Navy.
Do they get voted off of this? Well, sometimes no. Sometimes it's other things. It's how trustworthy we feel they are. It's how all this other stuff. There's so many things to how somebody votes. And part of the polling misses that. What happens the 3 days before the election when they are out in their final moments doing those emotional appeals for a vote? If you sound like a whiny bastard, you're not going to get the vote. It's just a thing. And some of the candidates last time sounded like whiny bastards. Let's face it. The Democrat side, those that were trying for the nomination, they didn't have a look and feel. Not enough to take on a sitting president. Right now, you've got the Republicans trying to scramble, and we've got one guy who's a front leader right now. We have Donald Trump.
I don't have to worry about it to president.
Right.
Well, according to some, they're going to take over and there's not going to be an election.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Just
Get rid of that.
right. And there's every president has been the worst president ever.
And every president, actually, I should say, every president in modern history,
President that you didn't vote for has been the worst president.
and every president has been the Antichrist. I've mentioned that before somewhere.
Well, Jefferson was considered the Antichrist.
People think they're rich.
Like I said, I didn't stumble with my words. Every president has been the Antichrist. Obama's the worst freaking Muslim ever. He drinks beer. He's for gay rights. But apparently he's this big movie man.
His wife run around without her came on.
Yeah. Of course, we also have the worst pope ever because the pope went into a mosque.
He did that?
Did he catch fire?
No.
No, he
I thought you're supposed to get invited in.
He was.
Oh.
I don't get it yet, but
Think about vampires.
The pope doesn't look in the mirror. So,
okay, Angel. Yeah.
well,
At least it's not Twilight. Yeah.
No,
I was saying that, but it's not.
wow. Wow. Bring that up. So the support isn't necessarily there for what their positions are. So at least we're looking at it from that standpoint. These guys aren't necessarily shooting for the majority of the crowd anymore.
So they're trying to make those fringe Christians fear the bad side.
They're using propaganda to fearmonger to see if they can get people to panic and try to, quick, do this.
Quick, vote for me because I'll fight against the evil of the day.
Yeah, I mean, he can create the evil. I mean, we have always been at war with East Asia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as long as a boogeyman is a good thing to have if you're a politician. A boogeyman should go out after an attack. Let's see.
Especially when the boogeyman is here.
And of course, the next thing we talk about is, okay, so how powerful is the Republican Party at this point? Because they control part of the U.S. right now, and we're in a red-ish state, kind of a purple state. But
The cities are getting more, but this rural is still trying to.
Like subsidies.
And in all fairness, I could never imagine rural Kansas as long as you have Pat Roberts sitting in office. That's what they wanted, because he's the guy who gives us our farm subsidies. They gotta have them. In fact, and in all fairness, they do have to have them to survive. If you have ever looked at the numbers of what it takes to be a farmer right now, you're not gonna have them. Otherwise, it's an untenable situation, and we end up with what ends up happening is we'll lose all farms to corporate farming entirely. There will be no home farm or small-time farmer with that only has 1,000 acres. They won't exist anymore.
Well, my grandpa only had 81. And that was with cattle and wheat. So,
Gee, that's not much. Jeez.
That was during the 80s. From like 37 to 84. So, yeah.
Oddly enough, this state maybe on the loser side at the moment as a red state. This year, this is actually from this year, what are the favorability reportings on a per party basis, not on a per candidate basis, but on a per party basis. The GOP is now viewed less favorably than Democrats. I'm actually a little shocked by this, to be quite honest. Now, if anybody's played the game where you try to figure out what it takes to win a presidency based on the number of states in the United States, you don't actually have to be fully in support of it. The U.S. doesn't have to fully support In fact, you only need 12 states. I can't remember what the minimum is that you can win on. You don't actually, Kansas, we don't have income speaking Kansas. Why? Because we're worth so few electoral votes. They could care less. We do not matter. That's why they don't show up and pander to us and, come to us. No. Don't care. All that we care is that we keep putting our vote out there. It's more important for Kansas. It's more important. Senators and representatives are a much more important vote for us than the president is. Let's talk about, well, I said we're not going to talk about candidates. I'm going to talk about one thing, though. Holy smokes. What did I just do? Okay.
Did the cloud reappear?
No.
No manna from heaven?
No man from heaven.
That's when it does reappear, and he's like, what the hell am I talking about?
Wait, my notes say something completely different.
And now for something completely different.
Hey, our second Monty Python now. See if I rebuilt that one or not. Okay, let me Google this real quick, and I'll show you something
That
important.
term always sounds so dirty to me.
What?
That term always sounds so dirty to me.
Google it?
Let me Google it. Go back in time and accidentally say something like that to your time traveling companion, and people will be like, great Googling.
All right, I want the entire list because it shows something important. Oh, good God, I'm not drawing this graph. Okay, I want you to, wow. So I'll imagine, I want you to all imagine this data. And
What are we looking at?
okay, and what that is that is the,
Spaghetti is.
so what?
The spaghetti is.
The spaghetti is,
1789
Right on your tab.
to 2015?
no, actually, this is a really short time span. It's actually from October to end of August. So it is the support levels for the various candidates. And I'm going to give you the current numbers. And these are actually the averages.
I don't know all these candidates. I'm waiting for them to get down to like 5. And then I'll pay attention. Yeah. Then I'll start worrying.
Yeah, I mean, there are way too many candidates right now to keep track of. I mean, I really, really feel for Republicans at this point in the moment.
I mean, I wanted to listen to the second debate. I got it on my app to listen to it, and I fell asleep. And I was like, darn. But then I didn't know who was talking because, yeah, I don't know their voices, so that kind of got a little bit weird too. I mean, I could figure out Trump's and Fiona. Shrek's wife, who's, yeah.
Fiorina.
It's not Fiona.
It is
Fiorina. Fiorina.
Okay.
I stole it right. Fiorina.
Well, it looked like Fiona.
No.
So we can't just call her
Charlie
Shrek's wife?
No.
Darn it.
Make sure you write it enough small so we know who you're talking about. $7.8, really? Wow.
Hopefully. Anybody that watched
is can actually see it.
How does it look backwards?
I can see the back of his head.
No, I mean backwards.
Oh, I can see the back of his
Like
head. Got a glider on. Okay, it's back.
I know it's like blowing up the camera is too reflective, right?
Yeah. It's just like, it looks like a Photoshop's, Starburst thing. No, it doesn't. It's good. It's gone, man.
Shut up, Marshall.
You're so artificial. It's like every cliche of every sunburst you've ever seen. It's fleeting at me now.
I'm going to shoot you in a minute. I don't even have a gun. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get a gun. I'm going to shoot you.
That's a lot of premeditation.
And I know I've just confessed to it all on camera.
It's okay, because I don't have to go to work tomorrow. Not that I don't want to, it's just, gosh.
Really? Really? You still there? Man.
You mean Pooish? Or how do you pronounce his name? Piyush.
What's that?
There's even a 0%. Graham got 0%.
Yeah.
So hanging out with God's going to make him president somehow.
Now, we are all familiar with all of the positions of these people, right? No. No.
Are we going to put the asterisks by the people who claim they were by God put in this position?
That's 7 of them. No.
We're up to 7 now.
No. No. Because it actually doesn't. It does not matter. It does not matter. And here's one of the things, though. Because you're talking about something important. You're waiting until it gets down to like 5 of them, right? Well, we're pretty certain that one of them is going to stick in here. Trump. Trump is 28.5%. Pretty good lead right now. 18 point. The next guy, Ben Carson, 18.8. It's almost a 10-point lead. Obviously, this is the guy that's going to be nominated. Let's get into election math, because that's not how it works. Let's say we drop Perry. Perry will not make it.
Didn't you just drop out?
Yeah, he did because he had a money. Yeah.
So Harry's no longer running.
Santorum is at 0.8, really seriously. Jindal, if you're pulling a point through, just go home.
So just say that Tim Davis is going to be your running mate, and yeah, you got it right there.
No, it won't work. In fact, actually, I think it's one of the things that's killing Huckabee right now. We'll say that, but here's the thing. America is based on labor. What must everybody do? Do your damn job. There is more support for the idea of do your damn job than there is for stand up and don't let gays marry. There is by far more support for one position than the other. Huckabee standing up with her, I think, backfired, and it's going to haunt him throughout the rest of it. Huckabee, I don't expect to see get very far. I don't expect he's going to jump up in the numbers at all.
It would take a minute.
Now, one of the things I just saw, and I forgot to grab this, because these numbers are old already. Anything older than 2 weeks is old.
Just when you accidentally write on your tablet.
You know what's cool? You can. It doesn't hurt it.
Okay.
Just wipe it off.
Damn it.
You were wishing for him to
No.
stumble.
No, I was hoping.
Oh,
It's not wishing. Never. No, I actually thought it would just be funny.
Because actually,
Yeah,
better than 6.3 here, she actually in one poll has jumped up to,
because apparently she stuck to her ignorant guns during the second debate.
you know what I think might have won it for her? was the moment when they asked her about what Trump had said about her, which was that she was unelectable. Look at that face. And she looked at the camera. She had 15 seconds to respond. She didn't use 15 seconds. She didn't need it. She looked at the camera and she said, I think every woman in America has heard what Trump said. That was it. That was it. She didn't attack him. She played the right card at the right moment. And I think that may have had a lot to do with her gaining of support. Support like that, of course, is temporary. All of these numbers, completely temporary. Trump could come out tomorrow drunk on stage and lose 20 points. Trump could come out on stage tomorrow and gain 20 points. It's still, we're too close.
I think if he came out on stage drunk, everybody would be like, oh, he's a normal guy, a regular Joe like me.
So when we get to the point, we're just going to take the top ones. We're going to pick the top 5. And we're going to say everybody else ends up dropping.
Look at all those clowns. What do you expect to be in a clown car? This moment in First Geeks is brought to you by the back of Davis's head. Back of Davis's head. You can trust us.
I like the fact she has no trust in my game whatsoever. None. No trust.
It would deflect off him.
Like off my spiky head.
These guys, as you get towards the end run, you'll end up filtering down to about 5 people. 22.7. That's how many points there are available when you take out the rest of the field. Simply Trump's 10-point lead doesn't look nearly as impressive when you realize that how much closer, just factoring out those 22 points among just these people, that changes the game a lot. This is election math. This is why it's always so fun to watch when you get this big field, because you're like, all right, so the real question becomes not, will that guy clear down there ever gain any more support? He's probably not. He's Jindal. He's at 3.3 points. 0.3. Go home already. But the important question is, who did his people jump to? Out of 22.7, how many actually end up jumping to Trump? Not a lot, actually. Because Trump's probably going to peak here shortly. You can only play the bully game for so long. And it's like, as much as I'm going to say this in a weird way, as much as I like Trump as a candidate, because he's fun to watch, eventually we're going to realize he's fun to watch, but I don't really want him in office.
You don't want him to represent America. Yes.
Especially because he continues to alienate group after group after group.
And he's going to say to Morocco's president, "You're fired."
Go ahead and say that's Putin. I don't think he really remembers that a hostile takeover is something completely different. So, and I mentioned all this. Now, oddly enough, on the Democrat side, the field actually looks more like this from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
So the numbers that we have right now for Democrat support, which puts Bernie above Hillary and everyone else, because there's other people running.
I think Johnson.
No. I looked this up last time. Okay, we actually had a little fun because I looked this up last time. We were like, who's that? Wait, who is that again? Really, there are some running that, let's see if I can find it. Maybe I still got it loaded on my phone because it was kind of funny.
The cloud it's not working.
Here we go. Everything. No, damn it. There we go. Okay, so that's the Republicans.
Republicans and senators.
I'm gonna start throwing. You know what I need? I need a Nerf gun. I am in desperate need of a Nerf gun.
Though the Democrats are usually what Republicans and senators are. At least modern day. This country needs money to run, so you might as well pay your share of taxes. Instead of trying to hoard it all for working good for Jesus. Sorry, I was trying to channel Karen from Law and Grace and it didn't work.
Keep talking. You're a good seller at least. Wow, that was some interesting writing. I'm gonna leave it.
Is that German? The double S is equals a B? Oh, I knew he was running.
No. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that asterisk.
Why? Yeah. He's still on the fence of running.
No, I didn't misspell that either.
I'm like, chaff? We're playing war games and an airplane or something? Oh yeah. That name looks familiar.
Elizabeth Warren. Okay, there's two of them that have asterisks up here. Let me explain. Because they still keep showing up on the polls. Biden.
They're not running.
I know.
Elizabeth Warren said she didn't want to run.
Uh-huh. And Biden has, okay, for the background, Biden's son died,
Yes.
among other things going on. He has not decided that he's going to run. He has made some very negative comments about running, but they keep leaving him on the polls. He's polling just below Hillary. A man who's not running is polling below Hillary. Technically, if he were to win the nomination, even if he hasn't put his name in, he's still required to go because he's part of the Democratic Party. Bernie currently, depending on which poll you go with, is a point above Hillary. 1 point does not matter. It's irrelevant. The rest of these people literally do not poll high enough. Remember those like 0.3s and stuff we're saying? They're like ones. There's literally such a already contracted Democratic list.
Yeah.
Already such a contracted Democratic list that it already looks like this basically, because we don't actually have Warren. We probably won't have Biden. And all four of those are almost irrelevant. They don't have enough support. It's literally Bernie and Hillary at the moment. So any numbers that we see, yes, they're still early. There's a year to go in this. Everything could change, and Bernie could have a heart attack tomorrow. If Bernie had a heart attack, we would have Hillary. I'd vote for Jeb Bush. It's just a thing. I don't like Hillary that much. I liked Elizabeth Warren though. I wish she would run.
Yeah.
I like her.
That's why I was like, she wouldn't run. We would elect her if she ran. But Bernie's pretty close.
So every time that we see, and keep in mind, the press is already trying to get us not afraid. They're trying to get us enthused and say, this guy's the one to beat. In reality, not yet. It's not that time yet.
I really hate losing C-SPAN. I really hate it. It's like, yeah, I liked it watching the last election cycle because it was pretty exciting watching the Republican.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna miss this year. Indecision 2016 is gonna be a little depressing. Jon Stewart won't be doing it because they have a host, and I've kind of grown to like his coverage for the elections, especially because he'll attack on both sides. He'll make fun of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about all of this stuff and talk about like the evangelicals and things like that is it all takes one group out of the equation because it always makes an assumption, and we kind of brushed against it in a way, but it makes the assumption that the evangelicals, the Catholics, and all these guys make up the what's referred to as the Christian right. There's another group. They're not allowed. They're disorganized. There's not any leadership, but it's called the Christian left. Technically, I'm a Christian left, and I actually don't have a whole lot of problems believing that. Bernie Sanders, and this is how important it is to see how malleable these situations are. Bernie Sanders polls low against those Christian right groups. Polls very low. Well, what you do when you're running for president is you always play to your strong suits. Every candidate does it. You don't see Huckabee going and talking at a gay pride event.
Right, you saw Bernie go to
Liberty.
Liberty University.
26,000 people gets out there and tells them, you should vote for me, you guys are wrong. That's what he did. He got up and he said,
that, but
you guys are.
said it in a nice way.
No, it's Bernie. He didn't say it even that nice. I mean, you know,
He didn't say it in an offensive way.
the angry old Jew got up there and but that was something happened. Something interesting happened. He started appealing to some of the evangelicals. And there's an article that I read, and it was one of those. Whoa, what? This guy's explaining that he's very much a conservative right winger who literally just kind of had a.
I don't have it online.
Bernie.
Biblical argument for Bernie.
That could be the one.
And a pit Bernie.
I got the clip CLYP version that actually had the audio.
Well, actually, I've got one better.
Of course, I just used my phone, so I got the weak one.
Gosh dang it. Now I can't find it. I have it somewhere. And it's surprisingly, of all things, it's a bad thing.
You went there.
Yes, I went there. Whatever.
Jim at Liberty University alumnus.
That's probably the guy who basically looks at him, looks at Bernie up there talking, and says, he sees John the Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this might be the scariest thing I've ever seen happen during an election. And the reason for it is when you can start making when you can take a candidate and start making parallels to biblical figures, you just change the entire game. Because if that were to start becoming part of the thinking, not only would you change the political game, it means there would be a long-term change in how evangelicals do the thing. Because if they start viewing this guy as parallels to what they should be, that would change the game considerably. And then it begs the question, is it going to happen? I mean, what softly early in the game to say anything's going to interesting happen with it, but geez, I mean, this.
They have actually said that Bernie has appealed to Republicans as well as Democrats. It's not just Democrats. Yeah.
Well, being a screaming liberal Republican, I'm a little confused in my life.
Well,
but
you didn't move so much as your party moved right so much that they let you
Yes.
sitting in the left area going, what?
There's a speech from, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of the show. It was a news show. It was a fake news show done by Alan Sorkin. The most famous bit out of that is What Makes America Great, and him going off on America not being the greatest nation per se. We're good at being number 2 and number 3. Which actually, oddly enough, I thought actually makes it debate that we are number 1. But he had there's a spiel in there where he says, I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal Republican. I'm a moderate. It's just my party has become so conservative, I look like a liberal now. And I very much agree with that statement.
Newsroom.
Newsroom, thank you.
Slightly
I'm waiting to watch season 3.
that are like struggling because the party is so straight. And they're just like, I would traditionally support them, but they're all crazy now.
Oh yeah, and it happens with churches and everything else too. I mean, I left where I was at because they came too far on the conservatism scale. I can't, with good conscience, listen to what these people are saying without, I don't know, pummeling them.
Well, when people argue, when they continuously argue the same thing over and over, it polarizes people. So you'll start out being, more moderate, and you guys are getting along and everything, and then as the argument progresses, it just gets worse and worse and worse, where you're like on 2 different islands from each other because you've both been pushed in different directions.
Funny you mention that.
I talked about earlier.
Funny you mention that because let me pull up a little something for you. See if I can find it. Problem with not having my notes and having just basically grabbed all the links from it is that I'm having to. Right. So give me just a moment. Where I find the article on. What is that? That's Catholics.
Lines are drawn in the sand. So you read for us or against us?
Pew research. The political polarization of the American public. It's basically, and
Polarization is also something that happens before war. So it's kind of a scary thing.
this is a horrible, horrible version of their pretty little graphs. Just to understand. Basically, what happened in 1994 and 2004, when surveyed, there was a certain level of distance between the peaks of conservatism and liberalism. We're going to say that there's a nice little line right down the center. We call those true markets. And what you end up with is up and down, up and down. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, it's a wallet. It's a poke. It's a poke. It's a butt grab. And so, and actually, it's a very informative.
Lungs. It looks like lungs.
And this is actually, the liberal conservative is consistently liberal and consistently conservative to their answers. So you end up with it looking like this back then. You look basically same thing in 2004, except for something interesting. On the conservative side, so you end up with a longer table. There's more of the extremists happening. And you go and get to 2014 and start off with the idea of it looking like a little curve kind of goes away. Yes, horrible. It looks a little more like this with a lot of grounds. You end up with one, a larger amount of even more radical towards each end, and a larger gap in this. You made the comment, this is prelude to war a lot of times. Not, I don't disagree with you. I don't think we're heading for war. But remember, last week before, whenever I had a thing I did. Then we end up, to get reasonable, in this country, based on what I've observed, we end up in a situation that to get reasonable change, we have to have more and more radicals at each end of the spectrum. And we're actually in a state right now that we are starting to get reasonable change. For instance, the idea of rights for homosexuals and transgender people. This is a relatively recent thing. And it took getting a pretty good chasm going before it happened. We go back in our history, in American history, and the idea of, we like to think of Martin Luther King as being the big push for civil rights. Martin Luther King existed about right here.
Yes, that does not stand for
On one side of the scale, you had the reason, what I would consider to be reasonable levels. They are fighting for change. They believe we should have equality. You have the far extreme, like Malcolm X, who thinks we should not have equality, kill whitey. I mean, he was part of that, the Black Panther movement. He was part of those things. And at the other end, we have guys like Mike Wallace. We have the KKK clear the far end, anchoring the farthest the other direction. And their membership grew during this time period, and their membership grew during this time period. Until eventually, it actually happened. We hit sort of a critical mass where politicians had to take note, where it had to become a thing, where it was more than just rhetoric and a speech, where action had to occur. It took a president to actually start moving it forward. But in the end, it happened. And I say it took a president to move it forward. Actually, it took this guy and a whole lot of other people to move it forward. And we saw that. Those who speak loudly for change on the liberal side, yeah, the likelihood of death is high. It is. The safest place to ever be is here. It always is. Which should say something to us as believers.
Because we're supposed to be on that side.
We're supposed to be on that side. Not only are we supposed to be on that side, we're supposed to be on the side and unafraid of the consequence.
Yeah.
Instead, we're being oppressed. And anyways, did you make that noise? Yeah. No, his was more interesting, actually.
Oh.
That's awesome.
So while we have these big divides that are going on, I'm wondering, and it's something I'm going to have to study more, because as I look back, I'm finding a pattern of this, and I'm trying to decide is this really a thing, or is this just me applying a model that I have to come up with to it, and it kind of look all right? This is why I'm not actually an anthropologist, because
I see Jesus and the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, there's conservative, and
there's a lot of truth to what you're saying.
I mean, we had, and he was trying to say, you have heard this, but I tell you this. Do not resist an evil person. If someone wants to go with them, go with them too. If he wants you to.
I can't help but look at this, and I'm going to write this, and I'm going to help.
Okay.
Or at least being hung by somebody somewhere.
Go for it. I'm waiting for it.
So we've got a reasonable liberal, Jesus, who very much advocated equality, the idea of love thy neighbor as thyself, of taking care of the poor and all that good stuff. And then we have God the Baptist. Huh? No. No, and I actually think about this for just a moment, because Paul comes similar to Malcolm X coming after him,
Because he was
in power.
there. He was the teacher of the law. And then,
Well, when his name was Paul, though, he was on
Right.
that side.
Yeah,
When he was Saul, he was on that side.
yeah. Because he made the leap from one end to the other, from trying to get Christians killed to
Being chased around the whole freaking world.
yes. But also because, and I say this because his ratings are actually more staunch, more angry.
Well, we don't know what the other side of the conversation is. I mean,
I agree with you.
it could have been like he was being trolled, and that was like him trying not to go thermonuclear.
It could have had a Marshall around. That's absolutely right.
Like, we don't know the other side of the conversation with Paul.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
There is a spot where he says specifically that you're not supposed to judge anybody outside the church. You're supposed to judge the people in the
1
church.
Corinthians 5:9 through 13.
Yep. That's ignored.
Always, yes.
I mean, it's another thing.
Not an important thing to be. It's standing out in our way for controlling society for good.
So we've looked at the landscape a bit. It's not necessarily what some people want to tell you it is. And the landscape's even more interesting this year than it was 2 years ago, than it was 2 years before that. And part of the reason why is social media. Social media and the proliferation of the idea that we can talk about politics with people who believe the same thing or with people who don't believe the same thing. More often than not, we talk politics with people who believe the same thing as us. We filter our Facebooks that way. There's even jokes and memes about the idea that, well, pretty much anybody else that you went to school with must be an idiot because they backed this candidate instead of your candidate. We view this as stupid people. We view the idea of backing Trump as being stupid. I know a perfectly intelligent human being. For the life of me, I don't know why she supports Trump.
But polarization, if you look at the writings of it, it gets that way where you just start assuming the other people are stupid. They can't possibly believe that unless they're stupid or maliciously evil. So we're getting more and more polarized. So that's you have to check anything. You're like, you must be a freaking idiot if you do that because of the polarization.
I have a friend who is highly anti-Republican, which I do not believe in. I do not believe being an anti-Republican, anti-Democrat,
Anti-libertarian in a way. I don't, but I don't believe being anti-party or pro-party. I really don't. While I am a registered Republican, that does not mean I always vote Republican. I voted Obama twice because he was the best man for the job. Had there been somebody else that was better than him, I would have voted for them. And I say best man, best person for the job. I mean, again, like I said on that list, I kind of wish Elizabeth Warren was running.
It was a race with two men, so you didn't have another choice.
Yes. And we do the whole party ticket idea. And additionally, we also make an automatic assumption.
You can't say liberal, you gotta say socialist or.
No, socialist is different. Socialist is different.
I know, I'm just,
And
I joke.
you're going to say the insult is libtard. I know that.
Yeah, actually, that's good. Republican, libtard, Democrats. There's Republicard works. Republicard. Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. But the point being that this trend will just attack based on the idea. Well, Republicans voted against women's rights in 1976. I'm making the number up. I can't remember the year, but okay, just start off with pro and voting for and voting against. If your party votes against something and you voted for it, why are you a bad guy? Automatically, in the eyes of anybody who follows the issues of women's rights, for instance. Why would you be a bad guy? You voted for it. It doesn't matter what your party voted for. You voted for it. We need to look at these people from the standpoint of human beings. We need to get rid of our BS rhetoric and get rid of our preconceived notions because, by the way, this is not right. There is no such thing as conservative Democrat. There's no such thing as a liberal Republican. And I'm going to laugh every time I say the word liberal Republican because, like I said, apparently, actually, what I am, if you want to get technical, it's not that it means I'm a liberal. It means I'm a socialist. If I'm backing Bernie because that's his platform.
But he's a socialist for democracy.
He's a socialist Democrat.
Yeah.
A very specific type of socialism.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I do not believe in us all having exactly the same wages and et cetera, et cetera. No, I don't. I really don't. Because otherwise we never have anything to strive for. I also don't believe in the idea of the top 1% owning 99.9% of everything else. I don't believe in that either. I believe in somewhere in the middle. So this idea, for a long time, I have labeled myself as a moderate. Republican, and as you pointed out, my party in general has gone further this direction. And you're not wrong. And the Democrat, the liberal Democrat side, has gotten a little more extreme on the edge. And Bernie is an example of that extremism. We quit generalizing. This is the first thing we need to do. We need to quit generalizing candidates based on who their party is. When it was Obama versus McCain, I was a toss-up because I knew some things about McCain. McCain was actually a pretty good guy. He himself was a pretty good guy. His belief set was. So what? Yeah, you know the party gave him that. You know the party gave him Sarah Palin. He went, what?
So I'm the same way. I had a decent view of him.
But I honestly think that was
one stroke away from being in charge.
I think that might have had something to do with Obama winning. Was that there was enough anti-votes. Sarah Palin started speaking and people's IQ in the room would drop. But would I compare the entire party to Sarah Palin? Hell no. Would I even compare them?
Well, the thing is that at one time, the Republican Party was less extreme. And I understand that sometimes people, especially if they've been around for a little while, tend to think back to that time and say, they're just going to recover from this lunacy sometime soon. They're gonna stop pandering to the crazy people.
I think this election will be the end of that.
And then they'll start playing like big boys. They'll actually try.
I haven't decided I in my own heart have not decided which side I believe is going to be the winner. Whether I'm right is completely different, of course. But I don't know. I'm starting to think that they are going to take a loss on this one. They've got two strong candidates on the other side.
And also just because their track record over the last few years. And it doesn't matter what you think about Obama, they just totally love the government.
And I think it's going to be Bernie versus Jeb. And I'm going to be all right with that. That's who I think is going to be squaring off. It's going to be Bernie versus Jeb. As much as I make jokes about Trump versus Bernie being the funnest circus ever, shy of having elephants walking through the room on beach balls.
It's Back to the Future.
It's
Dr. Scott versus Bill.
Yes, I've seen that meme. I love it. But one of the other things that we need to probably think about is if we're talking about politics, and keep in mind, coming from my place of peace, love, and respect being the thing to send out the world, if we're talking about politics, which should we be doing? Should we be doing Donald Trump and attacking the other people? Or should we do Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders does not give a shit about the rest of the candidates. He doesn't. He finally said something about Trump because somebody cornered him, and it actually was pretty bad. They've tried to corner him to say stuff against Hillary. And he's looked at him and said, I'm not running against Hillary. I'm running for these issues. Brilliant. I mean, this is the type of guy I want to be. This is the type of guy I want to be. I actually want to, when I talk about politics, I don't want to say Trump's an idiot. What I want to say is I'm not voting for Trump. I'm voting for Bernie because I think Bernie's pretty awesome. Or I'm voting for Warren because they finally drug her into the race. Or any number of things.
He's also what I've always believed should be, should be happening as far as presidential elections. We should get people who don't want to be president. Because Bernie didn't really want to be president when he was starting. When he was running originally to force his issues into the limelight and make Hillary talk about some of his issues just to try to overcome him. And then he saw the support that was going on.
Did you ever watch West Wing?
No.
Oh, you should. It's awesome.
There's lots of things.
I'm trying to get into that, but I'm still trying to finish the newsroom.
Gotcha.
I got
You are watching it in the wrong order. You should watch West Wing first and Newsroom. They're both Alan Sorkin. They're both the same show, told in a different way. Anyways, there's a part in there where they're talking with the current president, and it's set back a little bit, and he's talking about the fact that he didn't run to win. He ran to get the issues out there. Because he was so focused on the issues and not on a negative campaign, that's what made him win. And it's fiction. It's a cool story, bro. But I wonder if we don't see that now. I mean, let's face it, the more time you spend talking bad about other people, the less you accomplish of your own goals. So my thing I'm going to try to do, and I encourage everybody else to do it, I'm going to try during this next cycle to talk about what I like about the people that are running. Rather than, I hate Trump because he's a blowhard asshole. No, let's I say about him, because there's an old idea in advertising. Any mention's a good mention. And that's what Trump's running right now, I think. I don't necessarily think Trump believes the stuff he's saying. I actually, truth be told, I think he is a lot more moderate than what he's saying up on stage. Because if you look at some of the platform stuff he's talked about before he ran, actually a little closer to Bernie than you might expect. Mm-hmm. Higher taxes on stock trades, higher taxes. the end of trying to put an end to the college debt situation. A lot of these things that are very, very moderate to liberal in thinking.
Trump wouldn't be so bad if he wasn't so
Bad.
racist and just destructive.
I think he's using the system against itself.
And then that kills it for people who just don't care for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to lose him. Yeah, I didn't even expect him to get this far. I heard Trump was running, and I was like, huh.
I thought it was a joke. I thought, because he's done it before. He said that he's going to run. He's going to run as a Democrat. He was going to run as an independent, and now he ran as a Republican. And I'm mystified on the idea that he ran as a Republican, because it's not really necessarily the platform he's been associated with. I mean, he's said good things about Hillary previously. He's, a lot of things that we're seeing, the Trump we're seeing right now versus the Trump that's been classical. He's still a jerk. I don't like the man. But what he's doing up there is persona, I think. I really do. But anyways, he knows the following rule. Every mention is a good mention. Trump knows every time he gets pressed, that is the less press every other candidate gets. And the more mentions he gets. Because here's the thing that happens when people are voting. This is great. This is great. This is amazing. There's a large percentage of people that if Bob has made headlines over and over, doesn't matter for what, for good or for bad, there's a large percentage. Yeah.
Okay.
He'll get voted for. So you know what? If we don't like the candidates, let's quit talking about them. If we don't like these people, screw it. We don't need to talk about Ted Cruz. We don't need to talk about that number of morons that are in the Republican clown car right now. Wait till it becomes less of a clown car and more of a family sedan, and talk about the guys that actually are reasonable. It is as funny as it is. Even if I'm going to back Bernie in the election, and that's still a toss-up in reality. If Bernie doesn't get the nomination, I'm probably not voting Hillary. I don't care for Hillary. She's corporate as all get out. Jeb is corporate too, but at least I know which one. And it's silly, but when it comes time, we don't have to just talk about, if you're a Democrat, you don't have to talk about the Democrats you like. Talk about the Republicans you like. Might sound silly, but if our Democratic candidate doesn't win and you're a Democrat, at least try and get a Republican candidate that you feel is worthwhile. In other words, fight the game with positivity. Don't spend your time saying, these guys on this side are all assholes, or these guys on this side are all retards. No. So you know what? I like, as much as I don't care for most of them, I like Jindal. Sorry. Sorry.
Jindal, right?
You like you, Shay?
Jindal?
Yes.
Okay.
I speak of support and words of support for the ones that you'd rather see than Trump. Talk on both sides. It's okay. Just because I am a registered Republican, I voted Democrat, probably. I did last time. I did in the previous two elections. I did in the, I can't remember the word for it. General election. There we go. There's a lot that can be done that way. I think we need to do that we need to move forward with it and have a say on both sides of the issue. Because the fastest way to have no say on one side of the issue is to say everybody over there is an idiot. To do like my friend does. She just posts meme after meme after meme about how evil Republicans are until I point out that I'm a Republican. And then an exemption has to be made for me.
Accelerate.
So what?
Does it accelerate after that?
No, just the opposite.
usually, quite honestly, the times I've mentioned it, it's been kind of one of those, oh, yeah, I guess you are, aren't you? Because she doesn't think I'm evil. She knows I am for equality and rights and women's rights and respect and all these things. So I don't fit the model in the mold. I fit the model in the mold of what I think a Republican should be. And that is why I still stay in that party. Ladies, come back to where I'm at. That's what I want to do. Won't happen because there's only one of me. There needs to be a whole lot more people like me and that sort of thinking to start reining in.
Davis.
Well, that's 75 the cloning machine.
That fits into my generalization of Republicans.
What?
This is a generalization, and I understand it's a generalization, but I tend to see that Republicans, especially conservative Republicans, mainly Republicans, tend to view the world as what they want the world to be like, whereas the Democrats tend to deal with reality, with what's actually happening.
Democrats are only reactively dealing with it right now. The Democrats, in theory, should be social change people. They're not. They're having to fight a standing war in some ways. Okay, we have plenty of homosexuals in the United States. We need to give them rights. Therefore, they had to fight for the existence of homosexuals. That's really what they were doing. They shouldn't have had to fight that fight. What they should have been fighting, oddly enough, was we need to have, okay, yeah, we got this right thing, but we also need to go over here. We need to talk about trans and everything else. They should have actually been farther that way on the scale than they were. And I'm a little disappointed.
They should have been. They were still dealing with reality. There are a lot of homosexuals in this country, and we need to recognize them, as people. Whereas the conservatives, the Republicans, they're over there. They're mainly all like, nope, status quo. We got to keep it exactly the way it is. We got to actually we have to reclaim the greatness of America that was. It's always what you want it to be. You want it to be children. Yeah.
Well, and one of the other things not happening. Well, one of the other things that's happening is that we always have boogeymen in politics.
Trump.
The hell out of me. And what I'm observing that's been happening is you have the Republican generalization that becomes there's two boogeymen. The homosexuals and the Muslims.
Don't forget the atheists. With the atheist agenda.
I said Muslims. That means atheists also.
That means everybody who's not.
That
means everyone who's not.
Because anything that is a moral issue is a homosexual. If I said bestiality, it would be lumped in with homosexuality. If I said trans rights, it would be lumped in with homosexuality on a generic basis.
And why? On a generic basis, then you should call Muslims as lack of religion. Which is what really
religion.
But a Muslim is just a target.
Yes.
There's a laser focus that in on. But because of their perceived lack of religion and faith.
Yeah, because here's our moral boogeyman, and here is our religious boogeyman, or a religious boogeyman. And that's why I say, yeah, atheists and atheist agenda and stuff. No, that's all right there.
whatever it is, always the work agenda.
That could be
always tackle.
That can either be either category because the atheist is godless, they might even be a homosexual Muslim because they're after all these.
That's an interesting point you make there. I do like that. But what I'm watching, so we got them over here attacking these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm watching on my feeds is these guys have picked their boogeyman as the Republicans.
Yes. Well, I mean, basically, if you have somebody that is basically demonizing you constantly, of course you're going to say, that guy.
And what I perceive is if you spot a group of people who are demonizing and subjugating other groups of people for no good reason except for propaganda and misconception and misinformation, I'm going to be against that because if they get in power, that's a scary place, it's a scary road to go down.
But the point to me being this is essentially asymmetrical warfare. These guys are attacking these guys, and these guys are attacking these guys. These guys don't actually attack anyone. Not in general. So you have this kind of weird asymmetrical war setup now.
Well, it's not that the Republicans aren't attacking the Democrats. It's just that they're using labels that are just insults in general. They're not actually.
Well, indirectly by attacking those because the Democrats support it.
Because the Democrats allow Muslims to exist in the United States. That would be
So the enabler strategy.
So
The enabler strategy. It's like, oh, you allow these things.
that is a radical Republican sort of opinion. And I have a friend of mine who loves to rabble rouse, and he will grab. He's actually an independent. He quit with the whole game. He said, "You know what? I'm tired of both of you. I'm done. I'm tearing out my registration. I'm done." Re-registers as an independent.
He's not, but he is actually registered as an independent. He's
Yes.
not just not voting.
No, he's registered as an independent now.
Okay.
And okay, that's fine. You don't get to vote the primaries. I do.
Well, if you're smart about it,
And what he'll do is he'll grab some of the most out there Republican facing stuff, the Republican extremist ideas, which only represents a small portion of these people. And he'll grab them, he'll post them online, and his son will lose his mind and have to correct him. His son is over here. And but it's fun to watch it from the standpoint of I get to see a lot of the most extreme possible attacks on Hillary and all these different groups. Everybody except for Bernie. Nobody can attack Bernie right now, hardly. Nobody can find anything to attack him with. The only thing I've ever seen was a list that was all the things he plans on doing, which, by the way, one of them was tax the rich. And it gets to the end of the list and says, how does he plan on paying?
well, there was an independent paper back in the 70s, early 70s that he wrote where there was like one controversial sentence that if you stop reading right there, you can attack him on that.
I haven't even seen that one.
I saw a reference to it and I was like, nah.
Yeah, it's all the rest. It's all 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, it's all 50 Shades of Grey.
It's fantasy, so it's like, oh yeah, you're going to attack somebody for writing stuff? I'm not paying attention to you.
It started off as basically the domination of women by men, in a horrible way. And that's basically, that particular first paragraph was just an attention getter. And then you read the rest of it, and it's actually the opposite of what the original paragraph was written for. It's basically like sex. Now that I have your attention.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's all he had. When he first started running, that's all they had was this little sentence, that was, not very favorable. And they're like, oh, look, this evil man who wants to subjugate and abuse women. And it's like, did you finish the article? No. Then shut up. Want to stop? Go read it. And that is all real fast. That was only in the headlines for about a week.
Gotcha.
Real fast.
Yeah, right now it's bulletproof Bernie because nothing sticks to it. Nothing seems to penetrate his armor at the moment. But that could change. I mean, there's not.
I hope he's not a crack dealer on the side because that would be sad.
A friend of mine actually was really disturbed by him from the standpoint of he said, the problem I have with Bernie is he has no secrets. I need them to find something absolutely secret and evil and wrong about him before I'm going to truly be happy. Because he's a politician, there's supposed to be something evil and wrong deep down inside. And
Well, I personally believe that it takes a certain type of person to be a politician who wants to run for president in the first place, and that those traits are not favorable to a actual decent human being.
But I would run for president if I could. I will say, however, Bernie's approach should be my approach. I don't care what that guy is saying. I don't care what he said about me. Let's talk about what we need to talk about. And part of the reason why I like it is because he is taking the approach that if I was going to run, that's what I'd do. I don't care what everybody else
else says. No, I don't care what they're saying. It's not important. It's important is what you feel about these issues. So yeah. I think for the most part, you're right. Though. I think most of these people who run for president probably aren't folks I would be buddies with. And so we'll be able to
take a certain kind of person.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what their goals and motives are.
Yeah. So anyways, going back on topic.
Yeah.
So we have, and it's only going to get worse because we have that divide going on. But I'm proposing the idea that what we really need to do is to look at it from, again, in a lot of ways, a more biblical standpoint. We need to, while we're at our worst, we need to actually be behaving our best. We have a say in both sides of these issues. We always do. And unfortunately, America often devolves into only talking about your side. If I was not voting Republican, or if I was not voting Democrat and I was a Republican, I would still probably talk about Democratic candidates from a positive standpoint. I like this guy, I like that gal. On the other side, I'm waiting for the field to calm down a little bit before I say much of anything nice about any of these folks. For the most part, I just don't talk about them, besides Trump, because Trump has made himself a target. If you're going to make yourself a target, well, that's a different story. If you're going to act like a bombastic jerk the whole time, well, okay, maybe he does deserve it. I don't know. But I'm going to try very hard to approach all of this next election season from a standpoint of peace, love, and respect. I understand this is not going to be simple. Because it has become, as I mentioned, that this election cycle has yet further entrenched us with social media and things like that. 2014, we saw a rise in it. 2006, we saw a rise. Every time we've seen nothing but a rise in the amount of social media and cell phones and things like this as part of our connectivity points for discussing who we're going to vote for, or who we think is the right candidate, or what we think are the right answers to the issues. This next year, I guarantee, is going to be the worst we've ever seen when it comes to negative attacks against everybody, because it's become so simple to do. It is, and I'm not picking on you directly, but like the Ted Cruz thing, I find it never funny, and there's going to be my downfall, by the way, is that I do have a division between being an ass about things and what's funny. And if I find it funny, I think it's okay. I don't know that it actually gets the peace, love, and respect goal that I have, but the aspirations. I know. But there's going to be so much of it. It's going to saturate. It's literally going to saturate us with hate. And I got no answer for how to improve upon the situation, except for me to be an example of not being a hater the whole time, of not attacking people the whole time. Do I need to say something bad against Trump? No. Do I need to say something good for Bernie or Hillary or even Jeb or what have you? Yeah, that's a better choice. Every time it's a better choice. It's better for me. It's better for everybody else around. We talk about a world with negativity in our advertising and everything else that we do now. And yet here we are, we just contribute to it. So my thing is, I'm going to encourage everybody else to try and not contribute to it. Hater. I'm kidding. He was looking like he was falling asleep. But I'm going to do my best to try and not contribute further to the problem. I know I'll fail. Because I'm sarcastic and I'm a jerk. And that's just who I am. But I'll try. So we're going to wrap this up unless anybody's got anything. Okay. Next week, we're not here. Well, they can be here if they want, but I'm not going to be here, and I have a key. Next week is Great Plains Renaissance Festival, which I run a small chunk of the Renaissance Festival, and I do the website and stuff. So I'll be there all weekend, so we won't be doing first week next week, but the week after we will return, and hopefully we'll have a couple of people out of the political field because we're actually going to talk about the candidates. We're going to talk about them from a religious standpoint. I mean, what do they actually stand for? These guys that say they're running because God told them to.
Well, what do they show? What do their actions show? What do the things they support show? Are they really truly biblical? We'll look at that, and we'll see. It'll probably be a week or two on that one. I don't know. Depends on how quickly we get through it, because I'm sure somebody's going to have a lot to say about Ted Cruz. And we'll go from there. Anyways, so till next time.